Okay, it is 11 o'clock and we are back in regular session. And at this time, was there any further business we have? We covered everything before we went. All right, we are open for a period of citizens' comments. At this point, do we have comments from citizens? Anybody want to ask anything, say anything?
What happened to the big guy?
He's fast asleep.
He's taking a nap.
Yeah, he's taking a nap.
Yeah.
You guys
does
are in
that-
executive
Kirshner does
session
that a
too
lot
long.
too here.
Yeah, is that right?
There's
Hey,
not many that
I
can fall asleep up here.
have some questions, or I'd like more information on COG. What's going on there in the Justice Center? What is COG and how does it relate to the Justice Center?
And this is for the purpose of our recording, Dave Kingsborough,
Yes,
Okay.
Pleasant Township Radio.
yes.
And
You want me to
Go
elaborate
ahead.
on that?
Go
Okay.
ahead, take a shot.
Let me give you a little background on the Justice Center and the COG. Right after being elected, the judges, me as a commissioner, SIDEC, Port Authority, we'd get together and we said, okay, we have to do something. How can we combine the city and the county? How can we take care of our ADA accessibility? How can we take care of the security issue and streamline it and make it more effective? And we sat around and we had numerous meetings. We'd go out and have lunch in the back room out to TJ Willie's. Great ideas, great people, but we just could not get it to the next level. Just couldn't get it to the next level. Then all of a sudden, the COG came along and they were able to secure a $100,000 grant to have a study done. And they were able to put this group together and bring in an expert, this Burgess and Nyepel that they brought in to perform this study. And then at that point, which was a year and a half ago, year and 8 months or something like that, then things started building. We were able to start having some building blocks. And I equate that, the difference between good men or good people sitting around trying to make a decision and all of a sudden having this neutral party, this facilitator, able to bring everything together. And that's how I envision the COG's action today. We have the city, who has some views. We have the county, who has some views. You know, how do we overcome these views? How do we, not that they necessarily have the expertise on being a project manager, but it's not necessarily they have to know what to do. They have to know everything, but they have to know where to get this information at. Just like, how did they bring in the Burgess and Nyepel? How did they bring in this group to do the study? Their knowledge of bring in the various people to be able to help us put things together. That's where the COG comes in.
Does COG stand for something in particular?
Council of Government.
Council of
Their function is besides being a school, an academia, their function as chartered, I guess, by the state is to work with various government agencies, and try to collaborate with them to do what Kasich has called shared services. It's a big issue that he wants to have. How can we have government agencies, instead of having redundancy, how can we have shared services? And that's where the COG is part of their mission, is working with different city, county, township governments, whatever, to get us to how can we collaborate and work together better. Well, we've been around forever, but it was not until the COG come here, this third neutral independent party, that is allowing us to bring all these things together. So that's the function they have, in my mind.
Two things. I mean, one is, as Fred said, they want to do collaborative efforts, and therefore the Joint Justice Center, a building that houses more than just one political subdivision, the county and the city in this particular case. The second thing is that on this project, from my viewpoint, you're going to need some type of an owner's rep to monitor the project, because you've got two, again, separate government divisions trying to do a project jointly. Somebody's gotta look out for the best interests of everybody. There's always gonna be some type of an owner's project manager involved with this. In this case, the Council of Governors is acting as that owner's representative, again, from my view. And to make certain that if there are any disputes, that there is at least a third party who can resolve.
What kind of disputes you think you're gonna get into?
Well, like, I mean, most of them are timing things. I mean, so far, we've seen a number of them, but most of them are timing things. Like right now, we, as a Board of Commissioners, have approved the courthouse.
Correct.
The city of Tiffin has approved a memorandum of understanding. It's a non-binding agreement, so they have not yet approved the Joint Justice Center, so to speak. So we need to move them, or they need to move themselves forward in coming up with some type of a resolution as to their participation. And then, you know, just other issues that are unforeseen at this point that might come up, Dave. I'm not sure what they all might be, but I can tell you that there will be some issues.
And is it my understanding that it's gonna cost somewhere in the vicinity of $300,000 to have these people on board?
3% of the project cost is the contract that we are looking at now, although that's negotiable.
Just seems like an awful lot of money to spend
I kinda have-
another layer of
Yeah,
people to look after things.
I'm a little sticker shock with that too, but if you look at project managers' costs for projects of this size, it's typically somewhere between 2.5% and 6%. I don't,
I really struggle with that. I really struggle. Because don't we have enough people in-house? I mean, we've got an engineer over here, and we've got legal, I mean, we've got Derek, we've got, can't we bring those people in
I
the
would say that
same
we have-
room and
we have very-
negotiate our way through this without them?
we have very capable people, but when you're talking about a project that is between two political subdivisions, I think there are some unique situations that I don't want to trip over dollars and pick up dimes.
I understand that, but I'm just trying to say, isn't there some way you guys can meet on a regular basis, once a month, once a week, whatever it takes, so that you and the city people sit in the same room and say, we gotta get this done, or we gotta get that done, and the best idea is gonna be this or that?
Let me give you an example.
Couldn't we save the $300,000 by doing that?
One of the issues we talked about, how about they start construction and the city wants to do, all of a sudden they want to do this. Okay, well, they go to the architect. Now, the county turns around and, well, we want to do this, we go to the architect. The whole process here is neither one of us will go to the architect. We go to the COG, and we say, okay, we want to do this. City goes to the COG and says, okay, they want to do this. The COG will then bring the parties all together. Instead of confusing the architect and have people, you want to have one person go to the architect, one spokesman to go to the builder. You don't want to have everyone that's out and say, oh, I want this, I want this, I want this. Now, who would that one person be if we don't have the COG? Well, the city's going to object if it's a county. Well, the county certainly is going to object if it's a city. But if we have this neutral party that we can funnel, this is basically to funnel all these requests and this information through, and they're a funnel too. They're gonna take all this, the architects and the different people that they're gonna have to deal with, funnel it down and bring it to us as, we'll make the final decision. We will make the final decision, but they're gonna be, the facilitators are gonna bring all these different entities in. Is it expensive? Yes. Is it more expensive to do this wrong? Yes.
But
Well, go ahead,
I
Howard.
was just gonna say, one thought with that is, I don't want it to appear as though we anticipate we're never gonna get along. And that's what I feel like, it sounds like there's gonna be, so I think it's gonna be so defined by the design contract, construction contract of what we're doing, and again, it's not an open checkbook, there's limits, and as we move through this process, so obviously that's still under debate on who will do what, and I'm, trust me, all about the savings, but go ahead.
Well, I'm looking at it from my perspective, which is probably pretty narrow. But if I hired an architect and an engineer to build a building and a design of a building, and then I looked at those blueprints, and I said, this is good, this is what I want, I would think that you would have the outline for what you want. Now, if in the middle of the project, the city says, well, we want 9 chairs in this room instead of 7 chairs in this room, and you said, hey, we want 6 instead of 8, I would think that you guys could get together and make simple decisions like that, because the major decisions are already on the blueprints.
Yeah, Dave, you're probably right, and, you know.
And I guess to just to finish, Mike,
Yeah.
I just can't see spending $300,000 to have a group of people come in and just be a funnel, when Fred, I know you as a businessman know that when you talk directly to your supplier, you get a lot more information than when you go through a go-between. And I think you're putting a layer in between you and the architects and the engineers, which I don't think you should have to begin with, and plus it's costing you $300,000 to do it. I really struggle with that.
2 points that need to be made is, you know, one is that the mayor, in fact, as recently as this morning, I spoke with him and the council, have been extremely cooperative with us. It's just a you know, a procedural thing as to when they can get done what they need to get done, because a number of things they do are 3 readings, and we just need to try to get there to the same level that we are. And the second thing is that we have not signed any contract with anyone for the intermediary or for any contract work here. So all those things are still being negotiated. There was a proposal, you're absolutely right, of 3%. However, you know, that's all negotiable. And we have not yet executed, nor has the city executed any contracts with anybody. So this is all a matter of debate, and we appreciate your input, because we haven't made that decision.
Well, and my last comment would basically be, you know, we've talked about EMS in this county quite a bit, and some of the issues we have there, and we never seem to have any money, but here's $300,000 that we're gonna use to hire somebody that can do your communication work, and I think you guys can do your own communication work directly better than indirectly. And if you have to form a type of a day or meeting time or something where you 3 commissioners and city council or the mayor sit down and talk with the engineer or the architect directly, I think is pretty important to do. So I think the money can be used in many areas, not just EMS, but other areas too.
Well, just so you know, and the public knows, those meetings with the mayor and the stakeholders in this project have already had, we have had 6 or 7 meetings with all those people in the room.
Well, I'm just talking about what COG would have to do.
Right.
I mean, it seems to me you're building in another layer of
Okay.
government.
I just want to make it clear that the communication's already there, that's all.
Well, I'm gonna learn more about it, I'm sure, but I have some concerns.
Very valid concerns, David, and there's a portion of those that I certainly accept. I agree with you. And as Commissioner Kirchner said, we are in negotiation, and you know, what we may be willing to pay and what they may think it's worth may be 2 different issues.
I would, I'm not genius by no means, but I would think you could find a damn good attorney for less than $300,000 to be a mediator, to go between you and the people that need to make decisions with.
A lot of response to that. I don't think we better make it.
Okay.
Mr. Goshi?
Yeah, I have just something came up here. Why would that $300,000 be needed if the county went on their own? The county could have $300,000 to contribute to the building, not to politics or whatever.
If I may. We are going under the assumption that the city is going to be part of the Joint Justice Center, and until somebody says stop.
The city is going to what?
The city is going to participate in the building, and the building will
Are they going to
be a Joint
participate? Is
Justice
that
Center.
$300,000, or a portion of that going to be paid by the city?
Well, that's, again, we have not signed any contract, so all of that is negotiable.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the draft contract they've given us, it shows the percentages, 75-25, given the way the layout of the building would be, that 3 floors would be county and 1 floor the city. nothing signed.
Okay, there's another thing kind of bothers me, and that is, being an old geezer, I think there'd be a problem, you know, if you're going in there, you got a quarter of a building paid by one person, and 3/4 by the other people. What about maintenance costs? What about operational costs? How's that gonna be
Okay,
divided?
oh yeah, we've already addressed that at a high level. The county uses a process called Maximus. And we had a representative of Maximus that met with the mayor and I. And matter of fact, the judges were there, couple, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago. And what Maximus does, it is an independent agency. The county contracts with them right now. They assess all the cost of a specific building, electric, all the costs, maintenance and everything. And then they divvy that up based on the amount of occupancy you have on that.
Okay,
And we would, part of my thought process, again, we're still in a contractual stage here, is that we would set up what we call a binding arbitration. That means if we ever have the city and the county that are at odds on some issue, that we go to a third party, and not the COG there, that would be a third party arbitrator, and whatever their decision is binding. We're both bound by it. That way it protects all parties. But the Maximus is a tried and true system that the county's used for a number of years, I think. And it works very well. Because the county has occupants that are non-general fund, like regional planning is a non-general fund account. So they're paying, let's call it rent, but the rent is allocated based on what maximum determines this expense that they throw in the bucket every year, and it's always a year behind.
okay, there's another little portion of this same thing, divided on 3/4 to 1/4. What about operation costs? Lighting, heating and stuff like that?
But that's Maximus.
Okay, it's Maximus, but okay, we say here, come along here, and the city says, I'm gonna keep my temperatures here in 85 degrees. And wait a minute, we only should keep it 72 degrees. How are you gonna debate something like that? It's gonna be one bunch of crap when it's all over with.
We get that now.
I could have said.
There are,
I could've said
Accountability we
something
have.
else. I could have said something else, but I didn't. You notice that it slipped. But anyhow, in the process of things, there's things like that. It's gonna be petty as heck, but it's gonna be a problem, and it's gonna stay being a problem, regardless of what. If you split something up, just like I got a house, and I'm saying to my, 5 rooms in it, and I'm saying to my wife, okay, these 2 rooms are mine. You can have the other 3, but I wanna heat mine up like this, or I wanna take and put a cooler in there for all my beer and stuff like that. It's gonna be charged partly to you. She's not gonna like that. And I'm not gonna like it if she charges stuff to me. And that's what's gonna happen. It's not gonna be escapable. It's gonna happen, I don't care what you say.
we will pay a heavier part of the burden there because it's 75-25. You know, if they decide they wanna run their heat at 80 and we wanna run ours at 60, the cost of everybody's gonna go up, but we're gonna have a greater share of that, and there's no doubt about that.
Right.
But
Exactly.
I would think it would be everyone's interest to try to keep to control cost as much as possible. I mean,
Yeah, it should
Yeah,
be,
we're-
it should be, but is it gonna be? That's the problem.
now, the individual costs, they operate their specific department, their paper, the paper clips, that's them. I mean, that doesn't go to the
Right,
Maximus
but
thing.
building
That's-
maintenance and building
yeah.
operation. costs
Computers,
are-
the phone system will probably be a joint system, I believe, but there's some peripheral things
Oh, we're
that.
getting way too far into the weeds here.
I know that.
Yeah,
I know
mean,
it is, but
the fact is that you have a person who's a third party who will negotiate everything from a percentage of square footage. And yes, somebody might use more than somebody else. That's also part of the contract. And yes, there's a binding arbitration in there in case there's a complaint. Bingo.
there won't be a
Done.
binding operation, there won't be, because how are you gonna prove anything?
Well, you know, you can't manage based on worst case. You have to have some trust in the person that's gonna lease the property, and we do in the city of Tiffin.
Mr. Reitenbaugh,
Are we completely past renting, leasing to the city?
No.
Are we
No.
beyond that?
No.
We
No.
don't know what form it's gonna take.
Well, but I was thinking, maybe 100-year lease or something. I don't know, but I
Yeah.
keep thinking about the lease or renting. Just a comment, I'm
Yeah.
sure you've been there, but,
That's stuff Derek's gonna be working on how that looks, and I said, that's kind of the first step, is this whole ownership thing.
yeah.
And as we move forward, and then what type of arrangement, like I said, in private world, it's a little easier to do, but there ought to be a way to establish that up, that they're going to, lease own, this percentage or this floor, or however you look at it, of the building, and move forward from there. And then maybe some of the contract stuff doesn't have to be as convoluted and split up and so forth either, I don't know. But-
How well we do our job today, generations will reap the benefit of it. If we don't do our job right today, our kids will pay for what we screwed up.
That was a
That's why
comment
it's important.
I wanted to make that comment. I don't want my kids to have to pay for mistakes that were made. I think you're doing a great job, but yes.
I believe this is probably not the most important, because certainly EMS and that stuff, but this is, from a dollar sense, this is probably the largest single ticket that the commissioners have in my generation has ever encountered. It's big, and we gotta make sure to do it right.
Any other comments for the good of the order? Good. All right, motion to
Make a
adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We'll stand adjourned at 11:22.